one-on-one and when you're meeting in a group. And so like they first get introduced to someone at the orientation and they get introduced to all the services, but when they get to an interview, they're being sort of thoughtfully discussed with a staff member about what kind of training. And then after the training concludes, they're getting these one-on-one services, as you can see at the bottom, right? So sort of finding that balance to make sure that they're getting appropriate one-on-one time. And then the last thing is just making sure that you're setting up everything from the beginning as a long-term engagement, so that basically your interaction with that particular client doesn't end when they get placed in a job or when they reach a certain financial goal, right? So setting up the client flow so that there's multiple touch points and that relationship is really set up to be continued and long-term. All right. Okay, and sort of building off of that, thinking about retention and how to make sure that you're continuing to engage with clients after they finish the training or whatever element that they've gone through, right? So again, from what I mentioned before, is it's best practice sort of to set that expectation up from the beginning that this is a long-term commitment that they're making to their financial or employment goals, right? And so we think it's great to continue to sort of build relationships with clients. And so like if you sort of have like a coaching experience, and as Claudia was mentioning, right? So the coaching experience is a great way to build that trust. And once you have that existing relationship, it makes it easier to continue to work with someone in the long term. So focusing on building trust through those relationships, whether it's a coach or other staff members. And then also building in points where you can continue to talk to clients, even if their circumstances change or they're in a different point in their lives, right? So some things we suggest are like building out a newsletter or a texting platform or emails, right? Just making sure that there's something consistent and there's multiple ways to reach someone, so that if someone, does feel inclined to reach back out, it doesn't feel like a heavy lift for them to reach out to you. And within that is sort of thinking about how you're building in ways to collect feedback. So maybe that's through a survey, or maybe that's after like a coaching session, just thinking about ways to make sure that you are also understanding what you can be doing better, or what services can be like included, so that you can continue to be a value to that client. And then, of course, kind of building off all of that is leading with that value, right? So people's circumstances change over time and they have different needs over time. So you want to be able to respond to those needs. Maybe they have a job, but they have a childcare or transportation barrier. You want to be able to jump in and say, okay, like, this is where we're at. Let's see what kind of services or what kind of support we can offer to you, right? So I think the biggest piece here is really being able to be responsive to needs as they change. And that's probably one of the easier ways to make sure that where clients are, continuing to be engaged with over time. So I'll pause here. Claudia, I don't know if you want to jump in about anything I shared, or anything you want to add. Oh, you're muted.
Nothing right now. Thank you.
Great. So that was our mini presentation on service integration. Like we both said, it was sort of lightning round. So if there's additional questions, definitely drop them in the chat. If people want the slides, I think we can pass them along. But for now, I'll let Claudia introduce our speaker.
Hi again. Yes, next up we have Chris Ackley. He is, some of you probably know him. He presents every now and then at sessions. Chris is with Genesis Center in Providence. He is the FOC director and the financial coach. He's been there for about 5 years and has done an awesome job with their FOC. Actually, their Bridges site, their BCO site. So Chris is going to talk a little bit about how they stay on track, how they've tweaked their model, and how it's worked for them. Thank you so much for being here, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks, Claudia. Thanks, Leah. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Let's see. Can I share my screen?
You should be able to, but let me know if you don't.
And now I'm going to do the thing where I ask, can people see this? Yeah?
Yes.
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Chris Ackley. I'm the FOC director at Genesis Center. I'm also the financial coach. And yeah, I'm gonna try to share some lessons learned and share our experience at Genesis Center. I'll say right off the bat that, we don't have anything revolutionary. We don't have anything groundbreaking. All the stuff that was just talked about is what we are trying to do and striving for. And, we are putting our own tweaks on it when we can. We're kind of always assessing and adapting. And I'll try and share our experience and some lessons that we've picked up along the way. And hopefully it's helpful and maybe sparks some conversation or questions, or what have you. But just overview, Genesis Center has been located in Providence for, at this point, almost 40 years. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary in the fall. And we're a multi-service organization. We do English classes, workforce training, citizenship. We have an early learning center and lots of other complementary programs. We're serving about 1,000 people a year. I specifically work in the FOC, and we're a BCO site, so we're working mostly with our job training students, but we also incorporate other folks into our FOC as well. Okay, so just a brief history. The FOC has been in operation here for almost 10 years, and we've been a BCO site since 2015, and I came on in 2017. And I'll just say that I think that BCO has made a big difference in our FOC work for a lot of reasons. And it's also presented opportunities as well as challenges. So the great thing about BCO is I think that there is a built-in structure to the program, and it's easier for you to schedule that client engagement. At least you would think it would be much easier to schedule that client engagement because you have people in training programs for a certain length of time. However, if you don't go about it the right way, or you kind of miss some opportunities, it can continue to be a challenge to engage with clients. And I think that's something that we've learned over time with our BCO site, and something that I think we've tried to make changes with over the last several years. So, before we became a BCO site, you had sort of separate FOC and job training programs, and people were used to that. And so, like they always say, it takes buy-in at all levels. And I think that's something that we've had to work on over time. So I'll get into that a little bit later. So this is our training model. And as you can see at the bottom, the FOC services are really happening throughout a client's entire experience. Oftentimes, even before they enter their training, we're going to have them engage with the FOC because usually it's a matter of public benefits. They're going to need childcare. They're going to need to apply for unemployment, or they're going to need to apply for SNAP benefits in order to help them be in a place just to take that training. So in that instance, the FOC engagement is going to happen even before they really even get here to start a program. But it then happens very quickly. FOC is involved in all parts of the training. Orientation is huge. I'll do a little mini conversation about our orientation process. And then throughout the training, and we really set the tone for retention right from the get-go. And if people have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I can answer any questions on the fly too. Okay, so setting the tone at orientation. Like I said, in the past, there was separate workforce and FOC, and I think people were used to that. And FOC, even when we became a BCO site, was thought of as, oh, it's something you can do, or if we have time. And it's taken a while to break down that kind of thinking. FOC is a part of the program. It's not optional. It kind of has equal standing to the training that that folks are in. And this is something we need to not only convince the students of, but it's something that we need to convince the instructors of as well. And this has taken some relationship building with the instructors. And I've sort of leveraged my relationship with the workforce director at Genesis Center to say, listen, we need to make sure everybody's on the same page about this, because, you know, I'm not the boss of the workforce instructors. And sometimes when you say, hey, we're coming in to do this, or I need to pull this person, you can get a lot of pushback because they're busy. They have lots to do, but you have to understand that FOC is part of the program. And if we're going to get that client engagement and get those touches, which I do agree is really the most impactful part of the program, it's going to take everybody buying in. So I'd say when we first started the BCO, FOC would kind of like show up 2 weeks into the training, you know, and come in and say, hey, we're here and we're going to do all this cool stuff with you. And by that point, classes were already into a rhythm. We're springing something new on them, and it didn't work as well. So I think it's been an evolution. We fixed that and we started including people, including FOC at orientation. So first day, FOC is there. We're talking about what we're doing, okay? Which was great, but I think we were more or less just introducing what the FOC is and saying we're gonna work with you. I think over the last couple of years, we've changed the way we present to the students right off the bat. And I think that it's starting to make a difference. I won't say that we have a long way to go. Don't get me wrong. But we used to say things like, hey, you know, sign up for an appointment to meet with the financial coach. And that just opened the door for people avoiding, okay? And now we have the mindset of, okay, this is part of the program. It's not sign up for or when you can. It's, hey, this is the time you're going to meet with the financial coach. And if folks aren't going to meet with us, then we just report it to the workforce teacher and say, hey, this is part of their class. They didn't show up. That's missing attendance. And the balance with that is that we like to be client focused, client centered. We like to be flexible, but it was just opening the door for people to avoid engaging with the FOC. And so we changed the way we present to people. It's not like, hey, when you have time, or let me know when you want to. No, this is something that we're doing, and we're doing it soon. Also with orientation, I like to be as transparent as possible with the students about what we're doing and why we're doing it. As you know, we have to do a lot of data collection with students. We have to ask uncomfortable questions. Sometimes people get a little prickly about it, but I've taken this attitude where I want to make people feel like they're empowered by this and that they're partners with us. So I come in with complete transparency that, yeah, we're asking for data for multiple reasons. One, this is how we pay for the program. This program is free or extremely low cost for almost everybody. And this is how we pay for these programs. So when you are not only giving us this information, or when you're reporting on your outcomes, so when you tell us about jobs you get, when you tell us about budget increases, net worth increases, promotions, all that stuff, you are paying it forward to the next class. So it's kind of cheesy, but it's the whole, you're part of something bigger than yourself. And I think that has struck a chord with a lot of our students. And so I come in with that right away, and I try to make this like a partnership, that we're in this together. So that's kind of how, that's the buy-in right off the bat, and it sets the tone that we're going to be not only working with you right away, but this is a long-term relationship. We're kind of in this together.
Chris, hi.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. My name is Josh Brown down here in Norwalk. at the FOC and all. Now, is it the BCO? Is this a different program? Excuse me, because I'm not like really familiar with it all. But is this like a different entity of the FOC, or is it just like a different program?
So the BCO, and I might not be getting this exactly right, but to me, it's just a combination of workforce trainings with FOC services at the same time, and that's the Genesis model.
Oh, so like career readiness programs and things like that, outside of the employment specialist piece and things like that, like the financial coach. Oh, okay.
Yes, so our students are right now, they're either in a healthcare or culinary training, and while they're in that training, they are getting FOC services.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll be quiet.
No problem.
There's something that we haven't done yet. Okay.
So in terms of client flow, I think that we have a couple things that have worked for us. The first thing we try to do is the benefit screen. Like I said, that's something that's gonna like really help somebody to stay in the program, get in the program. So we try to hit that as soon as possible. And right after that, we're trying to get the combined financial assessment done, the CFA, to really get that baseline information and sort of put all that financial information on the table to then work with students. I'm front loading the financial education in a person's training, because we've realized over the years that it's more important to have the career stuff, the career workshops, the resume, the interviews, all coming at the end of the training when people are actually gearing up to get jobs. So we find that we're front loading the financial and the benefits, and then back loading the career services, and then sort of going back to the financial stuff at the very end, because a lot of our students are not going to be in great positions to make financial changes until they get a job. They're here in a job training program. And so that's kind of our client flow model at this point. But obviously we are adaptive, and whatever people need at a given time, we're ready to step in and provide them with those services. Our programs vary in length a lot. So we have a pharmacy technician training that lasts 10 weeks, and then we have a medical assistant training that lasts 6 months. So these both present challenges. With the 10-week training, it's how do we jam everything in and get everything done. With the 6-month training, sometimes it's how do we maintain momentum and engagement with the FOC, because they're in a much longer training. So it's something we're always kind of working on and trying to balance. Like I said, I think that we're doing okay, but we obviously have a lot more that we're still working on. And I would say these are our current goals and things that I'm trying to implement right now. We've added a digital literacy component to our FOC, and so that adds another set of workshops. It adds another coach that people need to meet with, and so we're trying to strive for efficiency. We are combining, when we can, the benefits coaching with the financial coaching, because we think that they're kind of inextricably linked in a lot of ways. So if we can streamline that process, it also cuts down on dropping data, dropping information, if that's all kind of living with the same coach. And that brings up general cross-training, having people be able to not only provide multiple kinds of coaching in a pinch, but we're creating a library of workshops and resources that all of our coaches can go in, access, pull when they need to, and feel comfortable and competent using sort of an in-house FOC program here at Genesis. Better oversight, like I mentioned, I'm the FOC director and the financial coach. So I feel like we have struggled with having that guru that kind of oversees everything and is more into the data, can guide those focused conversations, but it's something that we're working on. I'm trying to get better at that, and that's also part of the attempt to combine the benefits coaching with the financial coaching. And then finally, being responsive. We're always looking for different programs, different needs that can keep people coming back and keep people thinking of the FOC as a good resource for them and not just another hoop they need to jump through. So we want to be valuable. Our students' time is very limited and it's very valuable. So we have things like free tax preparation. We have focus programs on rent relief right now, on SNAP outreach. We have a car savings program. We're trying to be as valuable as possible, so it's a place that people want to come to in the first place and want to keep coming back to, over and over. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Chris. That was great. You do, I think over time, you have developed some really great practices, and it shows in the work that is accomplished at Genesis Center. So does anybody have any questions for Chris or for Leah and I? Yes.
Hello.
Gislania is no, it's Tony.
Yes, how you doing? Tony Nelson, Urban League of Hartford, Connecticut. Chris, I love your approach that you were doing when you mentioned about how you put the dealing with the back end measures and services. That's a great idea because I believe, I'm quite sure you guys know too, majority of people who are receiving your services and our services have already been through some type of job readiness or career readiness type supportive service in the past. So that's a great idea, I would say, putting that budget, banking, then also with the basic supportive services that they needed. And that's a great measure, man. That should be a good model because a lot of people get recycled in the job readiness and career readiness, and taking care of that first financial piece, I think, is a good move. So
Thank you. Yeah, it specifically works well for us as a BCO site because the job piece is in process. They're already kind of working on that. And so if we can get the financial stuff on the table, see where we could make some changes right away, that is going to hopefully help them to make it through the training a little easier. And then the job stuff kind of comes at the end.
Yeah, this is Josh. I wanted to actually second what Mr. Nelson was saying from Harvard. This is Josh from the FOC in Norwalk. Yeah, just letting them know, like, really in the beginning, the FOC is here. Like, we're here. You need that financial assistance, like something that we were actually talking about, banking with the unbankable. So once you're putting those FOC services right there in their face and letting them know, hey, listen, that not 2 or 3 weeks down the road, like Mr. Nelson is saying, because these people sometimes are recycled and they've been through the career readiness program. So that's why I was really intrigued when I was listening, like, well, okay, well, are these both together? Because this is something, we haven't started to do yet with the BCO. So yes, it makes a lot of sense of what you're doing, and just keep it up. I just wanted to second what he was saying.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So my name is Sharon. I'm the lead financial coach at the Roxbury Financial Opportunity Center, and we have BCO programs as well as just plain financial coaching. So I'm just curious as to how many students you put through your various training programs a year, and how many do you know stick with you after they finish the programs and come back? Like, people always come back when they need something, like a new job or something that you guys provide. So I'm just curious about, like, do you know how many go through a year and how many are retained?
So we're putting somewhere around 150 a year through our healthcare training programs. We normally have more going through our culinary programs, but they've been on hiatus for a little while due to pandemic and some other things. So I would say that I don't have the number right in front of me, but we have a fairly high rate of students that are receiving retention coaching. It comes in a lot of ways. We're pretty diligent about trying to keep up with people post-placement, so I would say that the majority of the retention coaching happens within the first, say, 30, 60, 90 days that someone gets placed at a job. Then we see what you're talking about, we'll call you when we need you. that's where
we have difficulty, like, once somebody goes back to work and you want to get their budget, you want to redo their budget because now they're earning money to figure out how to save or pay off whatever debt they owe. And they're like, no, thank you, we're good. But, the minute they leave their job or something else happens, they're like, they need to see you now. It doesn't,
Yes.
there's no lead time. It's like, can you meet with me today? I was like, where you been for the last 2 years? So that's
Well,
fine.
let me tell you one thing that I've started doing that may, who knows? Who knows? This is one thing I've started doing. When I reach out to people, it goes back to that tapping into something larger than yourself. Okay. So and then there's a little bit of competition too. We definitely set the table with that whole, like, hey, when you report your budget increases, you are helping the next class do this great program. It's amazing. But also when I reach out to people, I'll say, hey, I'm checking in with your class, and we want to see what's going on with your class specifically, even though I'm calling everybody. And I think that sometimes that flips in someone's brain. Oh, I want to show off to my class that I'm doing well. And I don't know. It's just one thing that, like, may have a little impact. You never know what's going to nudge somebody to re-engage. But also that's where we try to have as many programs like the free tax prep, the rent relief, the SNAP outreach program, all this stuff where we can say, hey, we're doing this. Are you interested? And then if they call back and say, yes, I am, then you can hopefully re-engage and say, what's going on with you right now?
Now, do you do, right, so normally when we run a culinary program, so luckily it continues to run, but we run various other programs. I'm only responsible for 2, but there's various others that kind of come through our office. They sometimes have like Facebook groups within the classes. So do you ever use like social media to reach out to some of the students? I mean, I'll ask the students, well, hey, do you know what some of your classmates are doing, so that I have a good idea as to why maybe they don't respond to either myself or our other financial coaches, because they're busy with whatever. Basically.
We tried to start a Genesis Center Workforce Alumni Facebook group. And honestly, it's just another thing that we have to update and monitor that, like, with our limited bandwidth, I won't say it's really gained much traction, but that was the idea, that if we can be like getting conversation going back and forth with people in the Facebook group, that would be good. But who knows? Hopefully we can kind of reinvest in that.
Yeah, and my boss has always said, well, maybe we should have like a big potluck or something and bring all the students back. I mean, our FOC's been around the BCO within the FOC has been around, I think, since 2015. I came on 2018. So we've run, I don't know, I think we have over 300 culinary students. And so they're always like, oh, maybe we could engage them doing it that way. So I guess I was just curious as to if those were any other things that you guys are doing to re-engage people.
We've tried. People are busy. We've run events and, like, hey, they're working people now, it's hard to get them back. They got kids, they got jobs, they got other stuff going on. So it's tough. There's a couple questions in the chat.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. No, I'm the only financial coach, and we have one career coach that is also the career and retention specialist. So we are currently trying to rework our model and spread out some responsibilities a little bit more. So we're getting there. And the question about losing interest or dropping out because of their priorities, we're mainly working with the BCO clients. So not really, like, their priority is to get a job. And like we said, we essentially make this a mandatory part of their program, so they're getting the other services as well. So there's certainly a wide gradient of how engaged people are. So there's people that go through the motions and don't really care about the FOC stuff, but for the most part, they're sort of a captive audience. And the rent relief funding, that came from the state of Rhode Island. And so we became a rent relief partner, and we were helping people file applications for rental assistance, utility assistance.
Any other questions?
Good morning. Joanne Williams Sweeney, New Community Corporation, a benefit coach in Newark, New Jersey. And I think his name is Chris, mentioned the program he has to help people purchase, obtain vehicles. I would like to know more about how he developed that partnership and how that part of his program is going.
Yeah, it's been going really well. We started an IDA program for vehicle purchase, and long story short, we had to get some buy-in from local financial institutions, and so we have obtained matching funds from financial institutions, and then we run a in-house IDA where people can save money towards a vehicle and then have it matched. So it takes between 6 and 12 months for them to save, and then they have their savings matched towards a vehicle. So we've done 25 vehicle purchases so far, and we're working with like 10 or 15 people right now. But the funding goes fast. We're always looking for new funding because the matching funds are really the key to the whole program.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Josh B. Josh, are you trying? Yeah, you're on mute. Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't want to keep asking questions, but I was actually interested into that rental assistance program because I did hear you mention that you guys did a lot of applications for rental and utility assistance. And I know our intake specialist, she did literally over 100 applications for like UnitedCT, which was the program that was saving people from getting evicted. And it was up to like 15,000 for rental assistance, backup help, and then another 1,500 for utility assistance. Like, how did you guys get that program in there? Because we have to usually they'll do the applications and the state has to approve it and things like that. I think you guys have like an actual rental assistance program where you guys give them money from that program. Am I not mistaken?
No, we were just a partner that was helping people file applications for the state funds. We didn't actually allocate any of the money, but it was very popular. We had lots of people coming in and applying, and that was just a way to re-engage with people.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hi, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can.
So my name is Tamara. I'm the financial coach for the Financial Opportunity Center and New Community in Newark, New Jersey. I wanted to know, Chris, if you actually had the write-up for your IDA program. I had tried to propose something similar for first-time home buyers, but that was kind of shut down. I have since been able to do just a general, small match savings program, but I would love to expand it to something like what you're doing for purchasing a car or paying off large debts like student loans and things like that. I was wondering if you'd be willing to share that program outline.
I just put my email in the chat. If you want to send me an email, I can share what I have with you. And the real key was doing requests for proposals to financial institutions to get involved.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Chris, I think there's one more question.
Sure.
No, that was for everyone. In this session, there will not be more in-depth information on retention and outreach, but please, there is plenty of information like that. And you can contact Leah or I, you can contact your program officer, list program officer, but we can certainly get you more information on that. So if there are no more questions, I'll give it another second here. Feel free to ask them if you have them. Okay, I think, Leah, what's next is the breakouts, correct? We are going into a breakout and we're going to be discussing these questions. So I'll just go over the questions while Leah's putting everybody into the breakout rooms. So we're going to spend about 25 minutes, 20 minutes looking at these questions. How frequently does your organization review the data? How does the data inform your day-to-day work or processes? How often does staff get together to talk about ongoing FOC work, clients, or data? What retention strategies do you currently use to keep clients engaged in your services? And why is client flow important to seamless services?
All right, so I believe we're all back now. Thanks for chatting in your group. I know it's been a long session, so appreciate that, but hopefully that was some good conversation and some ideas were floating around, or you heard some new strategies, or just got to converse with your colleagues. So we're gonna wrap up, but we wanna just take some time to reflect on how that all went. So I'm wondering if anyone has any reflections from that conversation, anything maybe you learned, or a new strategy that you might think about developing now based on that conversation or this whole session. Don't all jump at once.
I'll add, I always appreciate the breakout sessions because I feel like it's great to be able to talk to our programs and find out, because we all, while we have a strategy and a process to this, it's just excellent to be able to hear different perspectives and how, different organizations that offer different sets of programs approach the work. So that's always helpful.
Definitely, yeah. I think the more conversation, it's helpful. Sometimes we get a little bit siloed in what we do, so it's always helpful to talk and realize that this is a network, right? So we should optimize on that. Seeing in the chat, or go ahead, someone. I think
Oh yeah, I actually enjoyed mine. Just as like Miss Lori was just saying, Laura, excuse me, was saying that everybody was able to share some ideas, especially one about retention. The gift card piece, I think that is something big that people need gas nowadays, so gas is big. So it's always good when we can go in the breakout rooms and just share information and ideas amongst each other. So I enjoyed my session.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think we keep hearing retention, so Claudia and team, that's probably our next our next piece. And someone else put in, go ahead.
I was happy to learn that all of us seem to be facing rather similar challenges.
Definitely.
Hi.
I keep interrupting. I should just let you guys go. Go ahead.
I learned that the question was, how do you handle when one of the main pieces are out of the FOC? And I forgot what agency it was that gave us an idea of the way they do it. They color code. Because if you have somebody, taking over for the next person, it's important to know what are the priorities or who are the priorities in the financial coaching piece. So the yellow, red, and green, it was a good way of knowing if somebody else has to jump in behind you, what's the most important or who's highest on your list that you need to get to sooner than later. So that was great. And I also asked for ideas on, how, we could best use some incentives that we have. And they gave me some wonderful ideas on how to do that. If you meet with the financial coach, make an appointment and sit down with them, you'll get an incentive. The attendance incentive, they gave me some really good ideas on that. So I was thankful to be in the group to get those ideas.
Joanne, I'm so glad that you like that. That was Christine G that shared that, I believe, from the village. And I see in the chat that color coding sounds really interesting. It is a very interesting concept. It's, maybe I'll let Christine explain if you want to. I don't want to mince your process.
Sure. So that is a color coding process that our director, Laura O'Keefe, actually came up with. So when we have staff that is transitioning, or we may have someone that's going out on some sort of leave, we ask the coach before they go out to sort of take their caseload and assign, red to someone that's very high touch. We need to sort of make sure that someone's connecting with them right away. Yellow is, maybe there's a couple weeks or so, or a month you could go before you connect with that client. And then green is sort of people that are, maybe in a really good spot. They're kind of on autopilot. You might be able to wait a little longer before you are able, before you have to connect with that client. But it's just been really, really helpful to us in the situations we've been in as far as like transition with coaches. So happy to share if it's able to help someone else.
Thank you. That was awesome.
All right. Any other reflections, any learnings wanting to share? All right. Well, I think Claudia put in, we have a brief post-session survey. We want to make sure that these are really helpful to you all. So it's only 4 questions, so it should be pretty brief if you all can just take a minute. I know we're ending a little early, so hopefully that gives you some time to fill that survey out. It would be really helpful for us because we want to continue to make these helpful for you all. But other than that, thanks so much for today's session. Hopefully that was helpful. And if you could please do the survey, that would be awesome. So thanks, everybody.